Hey everyone, today I'm going to be reviewing my Drilldozer Revamp. Drilldozer stands just over 12 inches tall, and at his gun, whenever it's at its height, it's over 14 inches tall, which I don't really include that in overall height. It's just kind of an extra intimidating factor to his build. If you don't already know, I'm remaking every single set in 2.0 in my own style. So that's why there's so many 2.0 videos coming out right now. So here's the average height of a 2.0 hero. So as you can see, even the heroes that I've already revamped are quite a bit taller than the old heroes. And then of course the villains, I've taken the liberty to make them much, much bigger than the heroes. In the original sets, the villains minus Firelord were all about the same height as the heroes, but I thought they would be a little bit cooler if they were almost twice as tall as each hero. If you'd like to see the reviews of all of the MOCs I've already made in this series, the links will be in the description below. So the leg design is probably one of my favorite leg designs I've made so far. It's very, very sturdy, and I really think it looks good, especially for Drilldozer specifically. I'm trying to keep the kind of ruggedness and a little bit randomness of the fire villains. And the leg design, it's the same on both sides. That's not true of the other fire villains that I've made. They're much more random than Drilldozer. But I just decided to make him a little bit more complete looking and together looking. His leg design is very stable. I'll show you a little bit of the thought process behind the leg design, and I'll show the functionality of it real quick. So as you can see, there's a little bit of a joint right there just for the foot to add some stability. It's still got pretty much all the range of motion it needs. And then of course from the knee doesn't actually have the most movability, but then the thigh joint actually does have a lot of movability. So if you're wondering how the piston is moving in and out, it's actually on a ball joint as well, so it can be moved around and posed very easily because it's on a ball joint itself too. So that's how it adds stability without just popping off. If it was fixed, it would either break the piston or just pop it off. He really couldn't move at all with the piston if it was fixed in place. Also, I really like the look of the pistons coming down to the legs. That allowed him to be a little bit more skinny rather than just like a tube. If these would have just been like connected, if these two joints would have just been connected to another set of two joints that came down from his body design, the pistons, it provides a much more sleek looking design rather than, just some alternative. I really like the leg design, as I said. If you're wondering what this piece is, it comes from the 2006 Knights Kingdom series. They made weird buildable knight figures, and they came with super good armor plates. If you can see, that's dual molded and has a very, very nice luster to it. It looks really cool, and as you can see, it already has scraping designs on it. Those weren't added just to simulate battle damage. I used quite a few Bionicle pieces on this build. This isn't really even a Hero Factory build anymore. It's more of a mix between Bionicle and Hero Factory. This is a super cool piece to simulate randomness and, spikiness, I guess. It's a really good piece, and it's very easy to use. One of my favorite designs, though it's very subtle, is just the gear on the inside. I don't know why I like that so much, but I just really like that gear on the ankle. And then I have a wheel piece right there to cover up the other side of the ankle. The leg design is pretty closed up, and actually looking back on it, I should have put something right there. I didn't even realize there was an exposed Technic hole right there. I could have definitely covered that up a little better, but there's not really anything else to show you on the legs, so we can move on to the upper body now. There's a few details I'd like to point out. First off, the chest plates used sideways to simulate a bigger chest. I think that looks really cool. And also I used some of those big bow rock, I guess, shield pieces to round off his shoulders too. And I used 6 vents, which I think nicely slope off the chest design. I used this worn little, I guess, armor detailed piece from Star Wars. You know, the Star Wars buildable figures provided a lot of good pieces. I just have no idea what their names are because they're relatively new in the long term, you know, of parts and stuff. A lot of these pieces here are, you know, 10 plus years old, so the Star Wars guys are pretty new. I really like this cascading design of armor plate pieces that run the length of his back. I think that looks pretty good. There's a few assorted random mechanical details up there, and I really like this arm. If you remember, Drilldozer just had a spike on this arm. It was a very small spike, and so, of course, I decided to make it a very big spike, since this is a revamp after all. I used 2 Bionicle blade pieces, as you can see, and then a 5.0 sword from Hero Factory. I think it's a nice assortment of blades that looks very deadly. And then over on his drill arm, his arms move pretty well. The drill arm, though, the elbow doesn't have that much movement just because it's such a big design, you know. I just wanted it to be very stable, and it is, but it doesn't have the most movement. I think the drill is long enough, too, to where, you know, he can actually stab people and drill into things. I could have maybe made it a little bit longer, but I think it's a pretty solid design as is. And as you can see, I've used quite a few Hero Factory bone elements here. And this arm is pretty simple. You know, it's literally just a bone with an armor plate. But I think it works well. Sometimes I go a little simplistic on upper arms, especially whenever own a MOC like this, who's already so complex and he has so many pieces that I don't want to just use my entire bin on one MOC. And I don't think it takes away from him too much, because had that been a Technic design, it could have, you know, stuck out way more. Because to make a Technic upper arm that is also stable, you could really be using quite a few pieces. You could be shelling out 150 pieces maybe on one arm design if you want it to be stable. And then the gun up here, it's a simple design, and I think it looks pretty good. Drilldozers, of course, was just 2 of these, but I decided to make it look a little bit different. And I mean, it's a simple design. It was the last thing I built, and I should probably go back and change it up a little bit to make it a little bit more interesting. But that's really all I have to show you on the upper body. I hope I can build this MOC on camera, because I think it'd be pretty viewed, because this is one of my favorite MOCs, and I think people will have positive things to say about it. But as always, give me your thoughts in the comments. Please like and subscribe, and check out my 2.0 Reimagined series.